All right, we are live.
Okay. Oh, you can't hear me, Ben?
I can hear you just fine now.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that. This is what happens when we go live. I'm not the best. Ben, this is the UFC Vegas 49 UFC Makhachev versus Green, UFC Green versus Makhachev recap show. It was a really fun, action-packed night. This is the first time we've done a recap show together in 3 weeks. As I want to say, 2 weeks ago you were in Houston, so I went without you. Last week you went without me. The great Adam Duffy filled in for me. Before we get to the fights, I want to say thank you for Adam. Did a fantastic job. I thought I was going to not have a job after how good he was last week. But I guess I'll do my best, Bobby Green, and fill in for him moving forward. We have the chat wide open. There's a lot to talk about. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. For somebody who went 9 for 11 on the night, had a real good night of picking fights, I feel surprised and learned a few things. So, yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And, man, we have 11 fights to talk about. We have a huge card coming up next week. So let's get right into it. In the main event, Islam Makhachev was supposed to originally take on Beneil Dariush. Instead, he ended up taking on short notice Bobby Green. Bobby Green obviously had a lot of buzz coming off a victory just 2 weeks ago. Gets really tough matchup against Islam Makhachev. He was a huge underdog. And Islam Makhachev, who probably had all the pressure on him, being that he was the favorite, man, he showed why in the preview we said he might be the best 155-pounder on the planet. He was absolutely tremendous. I mean, he pitched a shutout, absolute pure dominance, one of the most dominant performances of any fighter's career. Just talk to me for a second about the greatness of Islam Makhachev.
I mean, you said it right off the bat. He came into this with little to gain and everything to lose, and the opposite was true for Bobby Green. Like, Bobby Green sweeps in. He's the hero just for taking the fight and is under next to no pressure. When you're in a situation like that, you're taking on a short notice opponent who is kind of the sentimental underdog favorite and is a huge underdog. I believe Makhachev was something like minus 750 or minus 800 by the time they got into the cage. You need to do more than just grind out a ho-hum 5-round decision win to help your stock at all. Because a decision victory for Makhachev here, even if it was 50-45, would have felt like a moral victory for Green to me. And you and I both picked Makhachev to win, but I believe we both picked him to win kind of in the later rounds, having to grind Green down. I specifically said on the preview, I bet Green's going to hurt him and have him in some kind of trouble in the first round or two, and I could not have been more wrong. Makhachev did exactly what you're supposed to do to an overmatched short notice opponent in this situation, because he gave Green no room to do anything. And once it hit the ground, again, against Makhachev, it doesn't matter how good a wrestler you are. You're not good enough to stop him from doing what he wants to do. He got the takedown, and once he got the takedown, he advanced positions so effortlessly. And it's unfair that we always make the comparison, but it really is like it's like Khabib Nurmagomedov, but it's like late career Nurmagomedov, because Nurmagomedov was a decision machine until very late in his career. This relentless, like, suffocating weight on top with at the same time just constantly trying to get your hips past his hips and past guard while pelting him with strikes, while like threatening with the choke anytime he turns his back. It's just, it looks like the most miserable thing in the world to have this man on top of you.
Yeah, the only thing that Islam has, well, hold on, there's so much stuff to unwrap. I don't even know where to start. I want to, first of all, I saw some people said in the chat that Ben has an echo. I can't hear it. Just let us know if that is fixed.
I believe I killed it, but let us know if there's still an echo.
Okay, Ben killed it. Okay, so that's good. Man, everyone's talking about Sarukian. Everyone's talking about him. It seems like nobody's talking about Islam Makhachev and what he did tonight. I agree totally. all the pressure was on him. And I felt like Islam Makhachev, being the fact that he didn't get the title shot, where a lot of people thought he should have got the title shot instead of Justin Gaethje against Charles Oliveira, gets matched up against Beneil Dariush. Okay, this is ultimately a number one contenders matchup. Whoever wins between him and Dariush is going to get the title shot. There's no argument against that. He gets put in a tough situation where Dariush is out. Bobby Green's on a nice little run, but there's still people who are believers. There's still people who, aren't believers like me. Like, I'm not a believer in Bobby Green. He looked the best he's ever has against Haqparast a couple weeks ago. But I'm still like, is it Bobby Green? What happens if he has, as you mentioned, like a ho-hum performance? What if he wins a decision? No. When you do what he did tonight, you go over Bobby Green's career, he hasn't got smoked like he did tonight. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, of course, he took the fight on short notice and this and that. And he kind of was making excuses at the end, too. It doesn't matter. Give him a full camp, and he's not stopping that takedown. The way he changed levels on a dime to be right on the hips, and then when he wrapped up the legs, the fight was over that second. The second before Bobby Green even hit the ground and Makhachev just had his hands locked. I think it was Paul Felder. He said his hands are locked. The fight was over. They're throwing the towel. Easily gets the back mount, pounds him out. What a performance! And I'm thinking about the comparisons to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and we say it's unfair because we said it's lazy. I mean, it's his mentor and all this, but it isn't lazy in that sense. Because it is true. Everything he's doing, Khabib did it, and he's doing something better. You're mentioning he's stopping guys on this run. I mean, look at his last 4 opponents. Quality guys. Think about this second. Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, Dan Hooker, and Bobby Green. He smoked every one of those dudes.
Yeah.
And all 4 of those dudes are good.
They are. I mean, I see some people in the chat. I see, looks like Eric Cote is the name in particular. And he's talking about Islam's recent run. I would say it's more than just Green and Hooker. I mean, Green, short notice opponent, but, obviously a veteran fighting at his very best. But Dan Hooker, top 10 guy, smoked him. Thiago Moises, top 10 guy, smoked him in Moises' wheelhouse. Moises is a grappler, and Makhachev completely thrashed him on the ground. Dober, borderline top 15 guy, smoked him. I mean, if you want to argue that it's not title shot worthy, you can, but who else is there that is on a better run than that?
The only person that I think that might be on a better run right now in the entire MMA world probably is Mrs. Reagan Luciano, whose birthday is today. So she's on a great run. She's got a great husband, Mr. Charles Lucky Luciano. So happy birthday to her. But back to the talk of Islam Makhachev. The run is exactly like when he was going up the ranks of the title. I think when he's fighting Michael Johnson, he's got him pinned and he's talking Dana will beat him. Everybody was saying, this guy's the future champ. Like, no one's touching this guy. That's how Islam Makhachev has the feel around me. We've talked about him being favored over Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje and whoever he faces next. I think he cemented that, of course, tonight. But, yeah, maybe Charles Oliveira does something crazy in a couple months from now. Maybe Justin Gaethje does something crazy, and it kind of says, oh, wow, reminds us of how good. But right now, man, I actually think he's extended the gap of his favoritism. Like, he might have been a 2-1. He might be a 2.5-1 now or something.
Honestly, the only other person like rising in contention that has a similar resume to what Makhachev has over the last 2 or 3 years is actually the guy he was supposed to fight tonight, Beneil Dariush, who's been on a fantastic run of beating high-level contenders badly.
Yeah, the only thing I think about Dariush is, he's been winning, and he's been obviously winning tremendously. I think about like Diego Ferreira fight. There was like moments of back and forth. The run that Makhachev is on right now is like what Khabib did for his entire career, where there's just levels to the skills and what they're doing out there. I mean, it's absolutely tremendous. He's running through everyone. I hate to keep comparing him to Khabib, but when I just think of fighters that we've seen do this, How is it anybody but Habib? I mean, I want to throw this out there, and it's a shame. And I was actually there live when this happened. If Adriano Martins does not land one big shot, I think we could be looking at like the mystique around Islam would be even bigger because he doesn't have that undefeated record. He doesn't have that steam aura. Sure. But the UFC, he's starting to open up his personality. The UFC needs him to hone in some of that. Like, besides being dominant, he had a bigger personality. Everything he said was so genuine but like perfect. We talk about and spoiler alert, but we've already taped the preview for UFC 272, and we talked about Jorge Masvidal, his rise, and a lot of his rise came with also the little perfect one-liners. Habib has that.
Yeah.
The UFC needs to find Makhachev's personality and grow it and get it out there. But if it's just that Ivan Drago scary Russian killer, then that's the way you do it. But not only does he have dominant champion, but he could be megastar again. This really could be Habib 2.0.
It could be. There's something to be said for Habib, just his like slightly broken English and just the way he would just say things very bluntly, just made for charming sound bites. Just, this is number one bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
number one bullshit.
The way he says the word smash has turned into the way that every MMA fan says the word smash. It's smish,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so he doesn't have Habib's personality, but if he finds it, this is a star. Let me ask you this. There really isn't much to talk about X's and O's. I mean, he took him down like we expected him to. Let's give him a little bit more credit for the takedown. That is against a former NCAA wrestler. So, I mean, that's impressive. Like, there wasn't not that.
And Green did all the right things. He tried to get his hips back out. He tried to wide leg it a little bit. He went for underhooks and ended up grabbing a guillotine instead just because, like, he realized he wasn't going to be able to shuck him off with underhooks. Like, we both hate when somebody just goes straight to the guillotine and concedes the takedown. But at that point, Green was going down either way. So, I mean, might as well do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Did he do it? So, obviously, the question is, do you deserve a title shot for beating Bobby Green? Most of the times the answer would be no. But I think when you take the totality of circumstances, the 10-fight winning streak, the killing everybody, that he was supposed to already be in the number one contender matchup. My question is, the title is in May. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. The winner of that, you figure 3-4 months at best. So now we're looking August, September, maybe even pushing to October. By the time that's a long, like 7-8 months. Do you think he has to fight again, or is it an absolute no-brainer? His next time he steps in the cage needs to be for a title.
I mean, we're probably going to talk about matchmaking in a few minutes here, but if they decided that they wanted to still run the Dariush fight before one or the other of those guys got a title shot, that would be fine with me. But there's another factor at work here, and I think we do need to talk about it, and I don't really want to weigh in on this because it's not the venue for it, other than in how it directly affects the sport. But should the UFC be really banking on a Russian fighter to be able to fight in 5 or 6 months? Like right now, most of Europe is booting Russians. Like the UFC London card is going to get butchered. We already know it's lost 3 fights because the UK will not be letting Russians in. I imagine Bellator's upcoming London card is going to be toast.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And not to we're not getting political, and obviously we're not blaming Islam Makhachev and Habib Nurmagomedov and Volkov and all these Russian fighters for what's going on between the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. So, and I know I speak for Ben. Neither one of us are blaming these guys for any of that stuff. But you really have to wonder if we weren't around during the World Wars. We're too young. But if this leads into a world war, are they viewed differently? Or is, if America and the rest of the world is in a war with Russia, is that viewed differently? Like the fighters, do they want to do business with them? I don't know. We've never were around in that kind of predicament. I probably shouldn't even bring it up because it's just a weird situation. Maybe they would, maybe they would. I have no idea. Obviously, I think I pray. I think most people in the world pray that we don't have to get to that situation. I pray that this situation over in Russia and Ukraine gets resolved very soon for obviously all the innocent people. Anyways, back to fighting because that's what people are here for, not my opinion on world matters that I know jack shit about. So if you're in charge, you're running the UFC, let's put it in a perfect utopia, no COVID, no conflicts, everything's perfect. Dariush's ankle is healed up in time. Are you doing the Dariush fight next, or are you going right to a title shot?
If it were up to me, I would do the Dariush fight next for the simple reason that, again, it's going to be probably 6 months from now before the title is ready to be contested again, and that's at best. That's assuming that whoever wins between Gaethje and Oliveira doesn't have a broken orbital or, like a busted up knee or just, or like a broken hand or something, where they have 60 days of no contact before they can even get back into a training camp, and all of a sudden this thing isn't going to get defended until September or October. You might as well have him fight again. I would be fine if Dariush were just the guy. He's the best we got right now. He's the next challenger. That'd be fine with me. Same with Makhachev. And and I completely admire Eric Cote here because he's on the hill, and it's Eric Cote against the world right now that he's calling out Makhachev's recent record, and obviously you can poke holes in it.
Yeah.
There are some short notice guys. There are some guys that weren't necessarily ranked that high, but he's won 10 straight. He's won 4 straight by like dominant finish. Like, who else is there? If he's the best you got, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I credit him for doing it too because I understand that, but I feel it's very similar to. Let's be honest. When Khabib was coming up on his run, it was the same thing. When he won the title, how many people were questioning? I mean, he won the title. He didn't beat the champion. He beat Ally Quinta on 24 hours notice.
Yeah.
And then it was a boring. He didn't even look that dominant though you dropped like a 50-43 scorecard and stuff. But and I think about Conor McGregor's rise, and it was he beat at that time Dustin Poirier win didn't seem that good. Obviously, Dennis Siver win never has looked that good. Chad Mendes on a week and a half notice. It is always, no matter who has made a run up, you can find ways to pick apart. I mean, I've done it just to troll back in the Sherdog forums, like just having fun, like trolling like Fedor's record, and be like, well, which heavyweight did he beat? That was so good. And when you really dig in, you go, yeah, but then Tim Sylvia lost. Yeah, I can't remember. Tim Sylvia lost 8 of his next 10 fights, and Andre Arlovski went on a 6-fight losing streak, and Brett Rogers was never good at that. And I'm not saying that Eric's trolling or anything. I'm just saying like every fighter you can find holes, arguments. It's just gonna be tough. He can only fight the guys put in front of him, and what he's doing, and that's what Eric pointed out to himself, is that he has dominated those guys too. I would. If I'm running the UFC, my next fight for Islam Makhachev is the champion. He's fighting for the title. And the reason why he's fighting for the title is simply based on that point moving forward, because that's what I'm thinking. Dustin Poirier has fought for the title a couple of times now, has lost, so he really would be I'm thinking, let me back up. I'm thinking if Makhachev fights for the title and wins the title, who does he defend the belt against? Now you have Dustin Poirier, who would have a recent loss. You'd have the loser of Gaethje and Oliveira. They would be, recent loss. Then obviously whoever he wins the title would beat. So say Oliveira. Say Oliveira keeps title. He fights one more time and wins. Then you have that guy. You have a marketable title defense.
Yeah, I mean,
does that make sense?
You broke up on me a little bit there, but I get the gist of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then just it's so hot right now. It just to me it would seem a little Leon Edwards-ish, where you just kind of keep adding one more fight to him.
Yeah, if it's anybody else, it's gonna kind of stand out as glaring that Makhachev, who again probably would be a 2.5 to 1 favorite over either Gaethje or Oliveira, is sitting on the sidelines because some of the people in this 10-fight win streak weren't ranked that high or were on short notice.
Yeah, so I know it's unfair to put you on the spot, but I mean we did do a little tape study. I mean the day we were taping the preview was the day they announced Bobby Green was in, so I'm assuming you did tape study. Who were you picking between Makhachev and Dariush?
Makhachev.
Okay. Do you feel more confident about that pick now? Or does it not change at all? I can't imagine you'd be less confident.
I feel about the same about it. Like, okay. I mean, Dariush, he's a hard-hitting striker. He might actually have greater one-shot power than Green does, even if he's nowhere near as complete or slick a striker. But that's not really going to help him. And he's a very, very good submission grappler, but he's no better a defensive wrestler than Green. So despite how different Dariush and Green's skill sets are, I don't think the end result is that much different. I think Makhachev takes Dariush down. Dariush is stuck either trying to scramble back up or trying to throw up submissions from his back, and either way, Makhachev is advancing position, punishing him with elbows and punches, and either looking for the TKO on the ground like he got tonight or a submission.
Yeah, when I think about Dariush, and obviously he's such a talented fighter, I think of, right now we have 4 guys really in contention for the title. Obviously the champion Charles Oliveira, you have Justin Gaethje, who he's fighting, you have Islam Makhachev, and I think Beneil Dariush. And of those, matchups for Dariush, I think Islam Makhachev is the worst stylistic matchup for him. So let me ask you this. Who's a worse stylistic matchup for Makhachev? Who's a bigger threat to Makhachev? Charles Oliveira or Justin Gaethje?
I think probably Gaethje. Your best chance to beat Islam Makhachev is going to be to fight off his takedowns and punch him in the face and kick his legs. With that very specific key to victory, that's something that Gaethje is going to be able to do better than Oliveira. Okay. I don't favor him to do it, but if either of those guys beats Makhachev, if he fights both of them 10 times and he loses one fight to either of them, it's Gaethje who manages to shuck off the first couple takedowns, kick him hard in his legs, punch him in his face, and hurt him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard watching Makhachev and then coming up with a game plan how you beat him. Yeah, I get the land one shot. Gaethje has. When we think about punching power, we think Gaethje has more punching power than Charles Oliveira. Even though Charles Oliveira's punching power has looked pretty damn good lately, like really, really good lately. The one thing is with Oliveira is there is a two-way road for Oliveira. I hate to say the guy that has the most submissions in UFC history couldn't pull up a submission against anybody.
Sure. I mean, he would certainly be capable of it, but he's gonna have to be doing it from his back. Which, I mean, when's the last time you remember him getting a sub from his back?
No, I know he's such a great grappler. I mean, he could get it, but yeah, I think he might. I'm not feeling confident about either because the one thing I would say about Gaethje that Oliveira over Gaethje would be more tempting is Oliveira. That camp hasn't faced Oliveira. They've faced Gaethje. They know more about him. They've game planned for him. Obviously, I understand it's a different fighter than Khabib Nurmagomedov, but everything Khabib did, I could see Makhachev doing the same thing to Gaethje.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I think about this 10-win run that Makhachev on right now. If we're being honest, the only person, obviously we're going to talk about him in a little while, the only person that's even challenged him is Arman Sarukian. He's the only guy that's even had moments against him.
Yeah, Sarukian, that loss a couple of years ago has certainly aged. It's aged well for both of them, frankly.
What do you think's yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think's a bigger more marketable fight, Gaethje or Oliveira? It's gotta be Gaethje, right? Just to speak in English part.
Probably. I mean, Oliveira, he's starting to get a little bit of shine. You know,
Yeah.
his English isn't good, but he has this really intense personality. He has kind of an odd look with, like, the glasses and the bleached hair. Like I've said a couple times, he looks like a Bond villain or something. Like, he's a guy that if they get the mic in front, like if he keeps winning, stardom will come.
Yeah.
Like Anderson Silva never spoke a lick of English, until like the very
Yeah, he
end.
was a striker though,
Yeah.
and he was yeah. It's a little
Well,
bit
I
different, but
mean,
yeah, I get you.
Charles Oliveira is a striker all of a sudden.
No, he
Yeah.
is. He is. It's funny. I mean, he really is. Um, yeah, I haven't done tape study, so I'm not making a prediction. It just seems like destiny that Islam Makhachev is going to be the champion in the UFC really soon. And you know what fight I want to see Islam Makhachev? And if anybody follows me on Twitter, they might have seen this. I got next week's we have UFC 272, and I got absolute goosebumps from the promo tonight. The best friends turn enemies. I thought the promo did a really good job. I think about some of the all-time best promos. I think about I love the Ronda Rousey Holly Holm with the little girl doing judo and boxing. Like, to me, that was one of the best ones, at least memorable. The Connor and Jose Aldo walking to Las Vegas with the countries behind them was a good one. I think about with John Jones DC2, where they didn't cover up all the nonsense with John Jones. I love this one. I don't know. Did you see the promo at all?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
I thought it was brilliant.
Like, it suckered me in. Like, I don't want to go
Yeah.
even knowing that their beef is like 95% fake and that they're going to go right back to being best buddies again afterwards. Even
hope it
knowing
is
that, it still got me.
Yeah, I hope it is that way because that's even better. But can we somehow? And the reason why I'm bringing this, I'm going full circle. Who I want to see Makhachev fight, it's not Kobe Covington. It's not Jorge Masvidal. I want Makhachev. I want Jorge Masvidal and Kobe Covington to convince Makhachev and Habib that they hate each other. I want to see those two guys. I want Habib to come back. I want Habib and Makhachev to fight each
Want
other.
the student to try to kill the master? Like,
yeah. Let's get a Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader kind of thing, or like this is what I want. Or yeah. Before we move on, Bobby Green, obviously tough situation. Does he lose a little bit of shine? Like, he had a lot of hype to him. Anything?
it didn't help. If he'd put up more of a fight, like, again, almost anything, a 5-round decision where the detractors of Makhachev could be like, well, he just played it safe and laid and prayed. That would have been a moral victory for Green, where his stock would have gone up. If he even just landed one great punch and had Makhachev on roller skates for 10 seconds, even if he got squashed around later, that would have been a moral victory. Like, this was about as bad as it gets, because he really didn't get a chance to show anything. Having said that, he's broken through to a different level. He's broken through. I've now headlined the fight nights. We're not going to see Bobby Green on an undercard again.
Yeah, and I'll take Habib versus Makhachev any way possible. I don't care if it's Rocky 5 and Makhachev's got to show up to a bar that Habib's inside and call him out, and they fight outside and they get smashed into dumpsters. I just want to see it happen. Bobby Green. Yeah, I definitely think his stock lost a little bit because he got ran through. It looked like just a paycheck for him. He still has to, you headline a UFC, you're going to get a pretty decent mix. I think they're both coming off losses. I think they're both really talented. I think they'd be just a fun stylistic matchup. That's the matchup I would do. What would you do with Bobby Green?
That would be a dynamite fight. Either that or, one half of the RDA and Fizzy fight next week. Maybe the loser of that would be a good one as well.
Yeah, he just fought Fiziev recently.
That's true. He already fought Fiziev. Dude, he gave Fiziev a tougher time than just about anyone else has fought since his debut.
A lot of people thought he won.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he should have won.
But if it were RDA, I like that one. But you know what? I like Riddell just great. For one thing, I think that'd be a smoking fight.
Yeah, I know. That'd be a really fun fight. So we talked about Charles Oliveira. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we move on?
No, no. I mean,
Uh,
we talked a lot about a 3-minute fight.
yeah, I know. Um, so Charles Oliveira, you said the only way he would win would be if he was put on his back and pulls up a submission and armbar, very Wellington Turman style, as Wellington Turman pulled off a second round armbar over Misha Cirkunov. What a weird fight! Can I just say that for a second? Um, just Turman comes out looking great, gets his back, jumps on his back. Looks
His,
like he's gonna get it. Really looks like he's getting a
his
submission.
backpacking him for like the first 2 minutes of the fight. It's like a giant-sized Juicy A Formiga just riding a man patiently and looking for the choke. Yeah, I was like, man, my Cirkunov pick is going to look extra stupid when Turman chokes him out in the first 90 seconds here.
Yeah, yeah. And then it looked like, oh, it looks really good. He just throws Turman off him, starts ground and pounding him like crazy, almost gets a north-south choke. I was setting up my tweet because me and Nolan King were at Bellator last week. We were talking about north-south chokes and how you just such a rarity. You never see him. I was going to be like, there's one for you,
Well,
Nolan.
hey, and I mean, on a weekend that Jeff Monson lost in bare knuckle boxing, it's like, well, great, we got someone to pick up the mantle of the north-south choke, and squeeze somebody purple from north-south position.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jeff Monson. The guy's 51 years old, I think it is. I looked him up, and he's still fighting.
51 years old. He can barely stand.
Yeah, come on, guys. Pay your fighters. Um, uh, back to this fight. Yeah, then he gets thrown off. Turman looks absolutely gassed. Cirkunov just throws him to the ground like a leg sweep. It just like he looks like he's done. 10 seconds later, he's gonna get ground and pound, and it's gonna be over. And then he just pulls off a armbar that looks to me like Cirkunov's known for his submissions, and it looks to me like day one armbar practice, like where you're in the room and you're practicing on arm bars and the hip was over. Like it was that quick and the tap was super fast. Man, Misha Cirkunov, dude. What a disappointment.
That was a huge disappointment. And honestly, not to take too much away from Turman, because for a 185-pound guy, that was a fast armbar. He got his hips up fast. Yeah. And before Cirkunov knew what was happening, that thing was locked in and extended, and it was deep. But I think Cirkunov was sleeping at the wheel. I think he thought, okay, Turman is gassed. Yeah, I'm going to hammer fist him another 6 times. I'm going to pick up my paycheck and go home. We're out of here. And he was not prepared. Like, I think he just totally got blindsided by it. And that is to his detriment, and that's to Turman's credit.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the weirdest fights. Let's do that. Let's do this. Because, I mean, the reason why the order of the bout order really bothers me this week. I feel like it's one of the next 2 fights are 2 of the most out of place bouts. So I'm almost going to treat them like prelim fights and kind of glaze over them really fast and let this something you really want to get into Wellington Turman, and is he turning his career around because he went to Connecticut with Glover to Shillan? Do you want to get into that, or because I don't believe that?
Let's take it one fight at a time.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm gonna the co-main event we just covered it really fast. A fight that I originally was planning on talking about extremely quickly, but it seems, according to the chat, other than the main event, people are livid.
All right, chat. Shout out. Come and get me. MMADecisions.com. About 15 media members. I am the only one who scored this fight for Cashuara. And the funny thing is, I said in the Sherdog chat, now I know how Drake Riggs feels. And I tweeted, oh man, after X number of years and who knows how many fights, I'm finally the odd man out on a decision at MMADecisions.com. And Drake drops right in and he's like, hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm happy Cashuara won because we both picked her. We had her as a slight underdog pick. I scored it for Kim. I had it 2 rounds to 1. But I'm gonna say this: like people saying robbery, it was not a robbery. Well, the first and second round were toss-ups, and the third round, I thought Cashuara clearly won because Kim had like the better offense about 3.5 minutes, and I think it was Capoza who tweeted this out. Yeah, but the next minute and a half, she's eating elbow after elbow after elbow, big shots. So I gave the third to Cashuara. Regardless, this it was a really fun fight. Still between extremely bottom of the barrel UFC talent.
I mean, Twitter was kind of blowing up. It's like, oh, this is a great fight. These women, this is blood and guts.
It was a great fight.
But blood and guts is kind of the same as complimenting a fighter on their chin. It's not really a compliment. Like the defense in this fight, these are two of the like worst fighters in the UFC defensively. Just both of them really, so hittable.
And to Cachoeira's side, when you talk about the technical skills of Cachoeira, she does everything wrong. She loads up on every shot. I think it was Paul Felder who was saying that she was running like she's doing it like Happy Gilmore, where she's running up to throw a shot. You could see her punches coming a mile away. Mm-hmm. She squares up, which means instead of having having a bladed boxing style where you have one side to really attack, you square up. You're having two sides to really attack. More of them was like a wrestling style to her stance. Her hands are low. She doesn't move her head. And if she does move her head, it's like very over exaggerated. Where if Kim threw a high kick on one side, she would have kicked it right in the face.
I'm trying to remember who said it. I mean, maybe it was Conor Rebush, but he was like, Cashuara moves her head right after she gets hit, and that's so true.
That's good. That's pretty funny. So there was a lot of holes. I gave it to Kim just on the volume, but I have no issue with Cachoeira winning this fight. I mean, he was pressing the action. She was landing the harder shots. And fairness, I kept saying this. When she throws a straight punch, she actually was landing. I'm like, hey, what? Don't you notice that when you throw a straight punch, you land it? Like, why don't you try that more? I think because she was winging so many that every once in a while when she threw one straight, it would like surprise Kim so much that she went like, you start like, you're playing with your kid and they're like throwing these big looping things and you're not expecting it. You're kind of blocking it and having fun. And they throw one straight down. You're like, oh shit, they hit me because you let your guard down a little bit. I think that's what happened. Like I said, I scored a 29-28 Kim. Like, I'm okay with Cachoeira. So guys, go after both of us, I guess.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. If I rewatch it, I might score it differently. I'm always happy to admit when I'm wrong, but I don't normally think of myself as an idiot. I thought both of the first two rounds were individually very close. I gave Cashuara the first and third, and most of the people giving me hell for it on Twitter were posting like punch stats from the UFC. One, if your argument relies on punch stats from the UFC, just fuck all the way off. It's not point karate. But
yeah. Yeah, I've always said that. Like, neither one of us are the big. We'll throw them out there when we try to find a talking point, especially if it works for our argument. I'll toss it out there. But, it's that attorney skills. I've been in the courtroom a lot, so I understand how I've seen attorneys argue one thing, a public defender argue one thing in one case, and the very next case they use it complete and say how flawed that is. So. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think it was Alan McDonald talked about the best thing that Cachoeira has going for her is her chin. I mean, say what you want about Cachoeira, like toughness isn't a question, and chin isn't a question. Like she was getting tagged up and she kept moving forward.
Yeah.
And really Kim too. I wonder at the end of the fight, and I can't remember who put this. I'm trying to. Guys are really chatting up really good, which we absolutely love. Bobby Boucher saying, it's Bobby Boucher. It's sorry guys, the icons are really, really small. So yeah, the Waterboy reference. He said, losses show that the end of the round is more memorable to the judges than the entirety. Mm-hmm. That we've always known.
Yep.
Since we've really got into judging, that's how it's always been. Should it be that way though?
No, but they're human. I obviously we're past the days of pride rules where like Dan Henderson could land one haymaker with 30 seconds left in the fight and erase 19 and a half minutes of kind of getting outstruck and not doing much. We're past that, but humans still are what they are. And if you take the Big John McCarthy judging course, which is still kind of the standard, like he and Herb Dean, and there are a couple other really established refs that have them, but if you listen to Big John's course on judging, he'll tell you to break down a round into like 5 1-minute blocks. And if something really big and decisive didn't happen, like somebody wasn't like knocked down or almost submitted, then just break down, who won the first minute, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and
Yeah.
that's hopefully to keep you from that human tendency of weighing what happens right at the very end of the round too heavily.
Yeah, I always try to think about it almost like a basketball game or something where, yeah, that's cool if a basketball team wins the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, but if they win the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter by 3 points each, so they're up by 9, but the guy in the fourth quarter, the team in the fourth quarter wins by 20, you lose. So I'm okay with but it goes both ways. The flurries early should matter. Everything should matter. Just overall, if you think about it and I'm not counting points as I'm going, but that's good combinations of point. That good combinations of point. Well, this knockdown, that's a 20-pointer. Like at the end, who had more points than that overall? Is that the best way to do it? No, there is no. Until we get rid of humans, it's never going to be perfect. And then even then, there's flaws when you go by, computer. I mean, I remember when, I think it was the Olympics was trying to do a computer system. And as far as UFC stats, from my understanding, I could be wrong, but I know in the past where in boxing where they've counted stats, you basically have one person on one side for a fighter watching just one fighter, and every time they land a punch, they hit a button to count. And then on the other side, someone else is doing it. The problem is, me and you could look at something, and we actually might have the same scale, but you're like you don't hit the button. You're like, was that significant? I don't know if that's. And I'm like, oh yeah, that jab was significant. And you're like,
No.
oh, that's leg kick.
And-
So it's like it's not fair. It's still someone judging if that was significant.
Right.
And then even if it is significant, not all significant strikes are equal.
Sure. And
like
my giving Cashuara the 2 rounds that I did, watching it in real time, it was based all along on my feeling that Cashuara's strikes were harder and more of them had impact. Like I could tell that that Kim was landing a lot more blows throughout. I could tell that without reference to any of the UFC stats. Like my whole thought was, okay, they're both landing. Kim is landing more, but it seems like Cashuara's ones are the ones that are really kind of seeming to hurt her, make her react, stop her in her tracks. By the end of the fight, are cutting her open and making her bleed.
Yeah, and one thing we also have to remember, and I'm not defending the judges tonight, so don't take it too much. I just want to throw it out there. Judges get one angle depending on where they are in the cage, so they get the same view of the entire fight. They do not have the accessibility to UFC stats. They don't have replay. They don't have any of that. The reaction of the crowd changes things. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times have we seen? I remember the other day, Jordan Lugo was fighting. If you're in this big arena, you're at Madison Square Garden, and everyone's going crazy. I got no issue. I have issues with Priscilla Cachoeira in general, going back to the Jillian Robertson trying to gouge her eyes out fight. But
oh my goodness,
as far as to get a decision, I scored it for Kim. So be it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Dev says, imagine a world with artificial fight scoring, and then says Elon Musk. Yeah. Alan saying I'm froze. I don't know if I'm still frozen.
Yeah, it was just a few seconds.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Because you're clear as day to me right now. So before these, I give a lot of grief to Cachoeira and Kim. I was saying I was tweeting out how. Why would they put this that high? How could they possibly put this over Armin Sarukian versus Joel Alvarez? That was the fight I was really looking forward to. I thought Alvarez could be a little bit. I mean, I had Sarukian winning pretty easily, but just a step up in competition. Alvarez is a tough test. Sarukian passed it with flying colors. He looked brilliant.
Flying colors, specifically red.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about his performance.
Sarukian continues to prove that. And again, going back to the point that Eric was making earlier, yeah, on paper, He's not shown it yet. So I'm not saying on accomplishments. I'm saying on the eyeball test and what appears to be his upside. He looks like he might be a top 5 guy on talent right now, and he has all the
Absolutely. I agree.
appearance of a future title contender. I have the feeling that he and Islam Makhachev are going to meet again at some point in the next 2 years, and it's probably going to be for a belt.
Let me ask you this, and this is actually for someone who's been watching MMA. I've been watching MMA since UFC 6. I always see referees, and we're going to get to Sarukian and his talent for a second, but I just want to talk about the blood before I forget. We always see the doctors stop the fights due to blood. Can a referee stop a fight due to blood? I know he could stop the fight to get it checked for blood, like if the referee if the doctor wants to stop it. But can the referee himself just say, this is too much, I'm stopping?
I've seen it happen a few times, but they usually call the doctor in to back them up on it. And it's usually because they are thinking it's obstructing vision.
Yeah, because the one issue I had in this fight is when Alvarez is on the ground trying to wipe his own eyes. Mm-hmm. If that's not protecting the fighter, what is? Like, he can't see.
Yeah.
And he's got an absolute killer on top of him, clocking him over and over again.
Yeah. Somebody asked in the chat, that's the largest amount of blood from one good elbow, really, that I've seen in a long time. Last time I saw one that bad was Blades versus Overeem, where it was kind of a ho-hum 3-round fight until about a minute left, just one elbow from Blades, and all of a sudden Overeem looked like he'd been hit with an axe. And that's what happened here as well.
I'm trying to think about some of the bloodiest ones. There was that fight in Cage Warriors that had to be stopped because of the blood.
Yeah, what's his name from that fight ended up it's Nicholas Dalby and
Dalby.
Yeah, Nicholas Dalby, and I can't remember who it was against.
They were like slipping. They had to stop the fight.
They stopped the fight because they were slipping and sliding in blood. It was disgusting. It was gross.
It looks like when you were a kid and you were in the slip and slide and having wrestling matches on it.
This fight, the way that the blood factored into the fight, reminded me of Gunnar Nelson versus Alex Oliveira, who, incidentally, we're going to talk about Alex Oliveira for next week's card. But where I never want to say a professional fighter quit, but there's a thing where just they're bothered and distracted by the blood. You could just because Alex Oliveira, after the cut, he got choked out pretty quickly, and you could tell it's because he wanted out of there. He's like, I don't want to be here anymore. This sucks. And it's not pain. Yeah. It's not fear. It's just, I can't do this. This is I'm done. And I think it was the same for Alvarez. Like, he sort of defended himself in that second round once it started bleeding again. But basically, he just wanted out, and I don't blame him. That's not quitting. That's just like, today is not my day.
Yeah. Yeah, Devo throws out BJ Penn versus Joe Steves. I remember when Edwin DeWeese, and he had that bleach blonde hair, and he was cut on the top of his head, and he was holding his own cut. Was it Franklin or
Lieben who cut the crap out of him and did that? I can't remember which one was, but yeah.
No, he won the fight.
Then it was on Tough, because he went 0-3 in the UFC, so it must have been a fight on Tough.
Yeah, it was on Tough, I think. I think it was on Tough. I want to say maybe what was his name? Like Gilbert Ray or something like that? Am I thinking about somebody? No,
Gideon Ray.
Someone looked that up.
Gideon Ray
Edwin DeWeese was holding.
DeWeese. Yep, that's it. Good call.
Gideon Ray. Yeah, so I had the first name wrong. Yeah, he was holding his head as he's trying to keep the blood in, and he's got the bleach blonde hair, and it's turning like pink. His hair is turning pink. That's one fight that I always remember. I guess I didn't remember it too well because I forgot who he fought. But I just think about, imagine you have to fight. You're already a huge underdog, completely healthy, not cut up. You get put on your back with Armin Sarukian on top of you. And just imagine for a second you're trying to fight someone and someone just keeps throwing, just say for a second like it was paint. Someone was taking paint can and just kept throwing it on your face. And you could wipe it for a second, then more paint comes out. It's kind of the same thing that's happening here. You try to wipe it, but you're wiping it with a glove that's full of your own blood already. So how well are you wiping it?
Blood in your eyes, it's not like sweat. It burns in a different way. It's sticky. You can't really just rub like that. Like, your eyes will tear up a little bit, but everything is still blurry. Your eyes, all of a sudden, they won't blink open or shut. Dude, getting blood in your eyes sucks.
And then you also have, while you're doing that, you have
Yeah.
one less hand to defend the punches that's coming
And
at you. I
and
mean, that's
I've
got to
I've
be
only
absolute
I've
hell.
only like bled into my eyes like standing. I've never been like lying on my back and just having it like pool straight into my eye sockets. That sounds miserable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you're breathing hard, so you're probably swallowing some of it. You ever swallow blood and like, not like the little cut in the inside of your mouth. I'm talking about like, going going the wrong way down your nose. I mean, you're breathing hard. It must have been terrible. Before that, though, talking about, I thought it was really brilliant of Sarukian to go right for the takedown against the much bigger guy. I mean, the one advantage Alvarez has is obviously if he could keep it long range striking, being that he's like
6'3" apparently. Yeah.
11 or something. Yeah, 6'3". It looks like he's 7 feet tall. That was his advantage. It's so smart, Sarukian just get it right to the ground immediately, and then some of the greatest ground and pound. You said he looks like a top 5 guy, and a lot of people, will argue, oh, who has he beaten? All you have to do is look at his matchup against Islam Makhachev. That should tell you. Oh, another good call, Kenny Florian versus Sean Shirk. Look at his fight against Islam Makhachev. If we think Makhachev is the next big thing, he's the only one who's giving him a battle. And he took that fight at short notice in his UFC debut.
And was the only guy that even remotely held his own on the ground against Makhachev. Like, actually was able to initiate scrambles, get back to his feet a few times, like was able to deny Makhachev just the immediate positional advances that he's used to getting.
Absolutely. I want to do something real quick. So before we get to, actually, I'm trying to delay time. You talked much quicker than I was hoping you would. Do we have the awards?
Awards, I believe. Yep, I got the awards.
All right, so we're gonna put a pin on this because I want to do one more thing with I want to do one more thing with the with Sarukian. I'm still trying to delay time. What we'd like to do with awards, we'd like to guess them. Ben has the results, so guys, throw out in the chat if you know who won. Don't like root it for everybody. Don't say, oh, this guy won, that guy won. Do we have a fight of the night?
We have a fight of the night and 2 performances of the night. So in the chat, feel free either to give your guesses on what they are or to say what you think they should be. Like what the awards would be if you were handing them out.
Yeah, I've given up. I like to do it just the way they should be, just because. So I'll give you mine, and then I want to get back to Sarukian for a second. But let me think. Islam Makhachev for sure. That's going to get a performance bonus. Let's go another performance bonus. Let's go. I'm just looking over the fights. Ramiz Brahimaj was really good. I can't see. Yeah, he did fight a bum though. I'm going to go with McKinney. McKinney ran through a fighter that I thought was pretty good. So I would go with Makhachev and McKinney. As far as the fight of the night, I know it was sloppy, and it probably should go to Rodriguez versus how do I say his name?
Petrosian?
Petrosian?
Yeah.
Petrosian. I'm saying that wrong. Rodriguez versus Petrosian. I'm actually going to give it to the females. I'm going to give it to Cashuara and Kim.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Dev says fight of the night should be Kim and Cashuara. Performance of the night, Arman and Islam. Bobby Boucher says performances should be Islam and McKinney. High or low 1000. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Always love to see new people here. Arman versus Robocop fight of the night. Your fight of the night is Cashuara versus Kim. And surprisingly, to me at least, your performances of the night are Arman Sarukian and Wellington Turman.
Wow. So
Makhachev got nothing. McKinney got nothing.
Being that it's short notice, I wonder if they use that against him.
Like, I thought McKinney, Brahimaj, like there were some dominant individual performances, but hey, a great come from behind submission.
Bahamondes had a great. Yeah, I don't know if it's one of those because of you don't see a submission like that. That's why they went with Turman. And it was Turman, and who was it?
Sarukian.
Even Sarukian, Sarukian was, I tend to hold weight to the early in the round it is. as possible. And then the fight of the night, you said it was
Yep.
the females?
Yep. Kim and Cashuara.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I would have been okay with the Rodriguez fight too, winning it
Yeah.
either way. Hopefully they give out some more bonuses. Dev thinks that Terrence and Islam got shafted. I get it. I think they both were really, really good, especially, I mean, McKinney ran right through him. So the reason why I wanted to stop for a second, if we're being honest, there's not too much in the sense of rankings moving forward for the rest of this card. So I want to do something we haven't done in a really long time. And I want the listeners to join in on us. Tell us tell me where to stop or where you would stop. But we're both saying that Sarukian's the next big thing. You know what I'm doing with this? Right now, I was delaying because I was pulling up the Sherdog rankings. Right now, and obviously this will change over this weekend every single week. A cheap plug for the Sherdog rankings. It comes out every what time did it come out? Monday, correct?
Morning. Yep.
Monday morning. It'll be out there Monday morning. Make sure you check it out. Go to Sherdog.com. Right on the top, you'll see rankings. It's pretty self-explanatory. Drop it down. Click on divisional rankings. You can see our rankings. Both me and Ben are two of the voters there's a whole, obviously, like pretty much everybody in Sherdog is involved, but more people involved than others. Me and Ben are definitely two of the more involved guys. Iron Sarukian versus Brad Riddell. Who wins?
I favor Sarukian slightly.
Me too. That was the 13th. Number 12, Thiago Moises.
I, again, favor Sarukian slightly. Like, not a blowout. Moises has a victory, but yeah.
This is the real one. Fiziev. Or Fiziev, however you say it.
Ooh.
Such a good division.
You got to ask me that next week after Fiziev versus RDA.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. That one's a fun one. That might be for a title one day. I'm going to keep going just because we haven't got it. That's where you would stop. And I'm talking about right now, his next fight, not a year from now, not 2 years. We're talking
next fight.
If tonight he didn't fight Joel Alvarez, insert this person, Gregor Gillespie.
Incidentally, that's who Sarukian called out.
Yeah, and that's actually who I had next. A great call out. That's who.
I favor Sarukian in that one. I think the wrestling cancels out, and I think Sarukian's a better striker.
Yeah, I agree. Rafael dos Santos.
Again, can we answer this one next week after Fiziev and RDA?
I like Sarukian.
But I like Sarukian over RDA big time.
Tony Ferguson. I like Sarukian easily. I like that one pretty easily.
That's partly a factor of just how quickly Ferguson seems to be declining.
Yeah, and obviously both guys are fighting different levels at this time, so it's a little easier it's much easier. We're kind of grading on a curve. One guy's fighting top 5 guys, the other guy's, top 20, top 25 guys. So yeah, sometimes we do this. Sometimes we live in the moment. Dan Hooker. Give me Sarukian. So number 6, Michael Chandler. That might be where I might stop it. I might stop it right there.
Yeah, that's one where at least I'm like, okay, this is probably a dead heat, because
that's
Chandler's
Chandler's
incredibly hard to take down, and he has more one-punch power than anyone that Sarukian's had to fight yet.
Yeah, and shout out to Jay Petrie. If he listens to the show, he's going to have a kick out.
We call it the Honey Barcelos test. Like, we take a guy on the outskirts of the top 15 and just go until Yeah, we were going pretty high on Honey Barcelos at that time. We were kind of wrong on that. So, my next matchup for Sarukian, I already kind of gave my answer. I'd go with Gregor Gillespie. I think that makes sense. I think it'd be a fun stylistic matchup. I mean, Gregor Gillespie was an NCAA Division I national champion wrestler. I want to say this because it doesn't get stressed enough, and especially in the wrestling, people don't realize how incredibly that is. That is as good as it gets. That is. Yeah, other than the Olympics and world champions and it's extremely high. So it's some of the best wrestlers ever has not won NCAA Division I titles. So yeah, he's a really good wrestler.
That's what I would do. So what would you do with if you're ultimately in charge and guys can throw out names who they would like to see Sarukian fight next?
Oh,
What would you
I
do?
do Gillespie. If a fighter calls out another fighter and it makes sense, by all means, like, let them do your work for you. I like that fight, and it would answer a lot of questions about both guys, because I still think Gillespie has a lot of upside. He's not a prospect anymore. He's like, what, 32 years old now, and the question is going to be, is he too undersized to make his wrestling work on UFC level lightweights? But Sarukian's not huge either. Like, I'd really like to see that. I think we end up with just some incredible, like, scramble heavy wrestling and grappling.
Yeah, yeah. That can't make the top of the weight class. You can't make bad matchups. I mean, just doing the rankings there for a second, and I'm like, the guys I was favoring Sarukian, I still like, wow, what a freaking matchup that'd be. That's where he's at now. It's no more. It's not like, he was pretty adamant. I want top 10 guys. I think that's the case going
if you're
forward
watching
for
this
him.
and you're wondering why we're counting up the Sherdog rankings instead of the UFC's own rankings, well, the UFC has Conor McGregor at number 9. Ask yourself how that fight would probably go right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one, it won't ever happen, but luckily for Conor, that wouldn't happen. But shout out to our very own Sean Sheehan, who did speak with Conor McGregor, got an exclusive interview with him. Check it out. You go to YouTube and all that and find it. It was very informative. Like, Conor was talking. I was surprised how much information he gave.
Everybody likes Sean Sheehan.
So if you're a Conor fan,
it's the Sean Sheehan show.
He's a great dude. I don't really. If I'm being honest, I've never really. We chatted on Twitter and fun things like that, but we both work for Sherdog. Maybe I'll get it. We'll hook up once, me and him. But yeah, he does seem like a very likable guy. I like his show. His show is really good. Make sure you check it out on Sherdog. A fight that both you and I were extremely excited for was Gregor Rodriguez versus Armin Petrosyan. It lived up. Regardless of who you thought won, it lived up to the hype. It was a fantastic fight. So that said, who did you score for?
I scored it. I think I actually scored it for Rodriguez, but I literally can't remember who I scored it for. I sent off that tweet to MMA Decisions, but dude, if you told me that this fight went the distance and there was basically no groundwork, there was like a total of 15 seconds on the ground, I would have felt very comfortable picking Petrosyan in this one. So for it even to be close, like, let alone for quite a few people to be saying Rodriguez should have won the decision, pretty surprising.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna throw it out to the chat. Guys can put out there who they thought, because I thought this was a really heated debate. MMA Decisions had 4 people picked Petrosyan, 10 people picked Rodriguez, so more people thought Rodriguez should have won. I'm at the Petrosyan. I scored a Petrosyan. I have no issue with anybody who scored it.
Oh no, you and I both scored it for Petrosyan.
Okay, so but we're in the minority in that.
Funny thing is,
the
4 people who scored it for Petrosyan, it's you and me. It's MMA Mania, which I almost guarantee you is Drake Riggs, because he's over at I think he's over at MMA Mania now. So that's pretty funny. Like,
okay. Well, yeah, and who was the fourth
Dan
one?
Urban from Couchside Judges, and I'm not familiar with that outlet.
Maybe that's like a fake. What do they call when the writers have a fake name? Maybe that's like a fake name for Drake Riggs. It's a fantastic. I scored the first 2 rounds for Petrosyan, and I gave the 3rd round to Rodriguez. But the real thing that it seems like everybody's in agreement with, the 30-27 scorecard by Tony Weeks, was terrible.
That was awful.
Petrosyan had a nice. Actually, I think he might have landed more strikes in the 3rd round by a significant margin, but you don't get taken down almost Sulu stretched, back taken, almost submitted a couple times, rocked in the very beginning of the 1st round, and win that 3rd round.
Yeah.
So to me, I understand, like, if you take the 3 rounds, the 1 round that is pretty obvious a guy won was the 3rd round. That's why I understand why so many people think Rodriguez won, because he's got 1 in the bank, and there's the other 2 are close rounds. So I understand that. Like, it's hard to score for Petrosyan where you got to take the 2 other rounds and say, yeah, they were close, but I give them both to Petrosyan. Like, I get why why there's outrage.
I get it too, and yeah, like, I can't fathom a veteran judge like Tony Weeks scoring that 3rd round for Petrosyan. It's ridiculous. yeah, there was a well locked in submission, and even
Yeah.
outside of that, it's the opposite dynamic of the Kim versus Cashuara fight, and yeah, Bobby Boucher said that. And I'm on the opposite side of it here, where I'm sure, without looking at the stats, I'm pretty sure that Petrosian probably outlanded Rodriguez in terms of sheer numbers.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
Rodriguez landed the strikes that really
Absolutely.
seemed to hurt.
Yeah, well, I felt like it was volume and I'd say stinging shots for Petrosian. Like he did buckle Rodriguez a couple times versus the effective grappling. And really, if we're being honest, it was like I think he took him down maybe two, maybe three times. It was really one takedown that was really effective, but it was the much more devastating strikes. So, what did you favor? We don't do pride scoring because it's not pride. I mean, I know one championship still does it, and this is one of those fights. Petrosian can win a UFC scoring, your standard MMA scoring. He's not winning a pride scoring fight. Like that would have went for sure if you could, it was the amount of damage matters. That would have went to Rodriguez. Side note, I know people throw out pride scoring, and you just talked about it a little while ago. People throw out pride scoring like it was the savior of scoring. People forget there was even more controversial scoring. There was a reason why there was people were calling pride need to change to the 10-9 must system, and like we were debating that for a long time in the Sherdog forums at that time. So, that said, even though Rodriguez lost, I actually feel better about him because there was things I had questions about. He stood and banged with a very good kickboxer and won a lot of the exchanges. He obviously his grappling is great, but his cardio, you got a bricked up guy, his cardio did not fail him.
No, his cardio did not fail him. Basically, I picked Petrosian in this one, and I picked him either by first or second round knockout because I figured that Rodriguez wouldn't try to bring it to the ground until too late because he clearly enjoys striking, and I thought he would just look stiff and slow by comparison to Petrosian, and he really didn't. Like he landed plenty.
Yeah.
While I gave Petrosian the first round, Rodriguez like hurt him several times with strikes, and he held up just fine. I feel good about him as a prospect, and I feel at least as good about Petrosian, obviously. So,
yeah, I feel great about both of guys. So we both gave a Petrosian. I know Kyle Law, he gave a Petrosian. Guys can throw out their other scorecards before we move on. Bobby Boucher scored it for Rodriguez. I'm trying to see if anybody else. Alan McDonald just says that 30-27 was a terrible scorecard. He doesn't say who he gave it to, but I apologize if I miss any as I'm trying to scroll fast and comments are going. Yeah, so I guess it's pretty split, and that's how I think it was. I was surprised that it was 10-4 for Rodriguez in mid decisions, but we both were on the same side of that. So then obviously the other 10 were wrong. If me and you are in agreement, that's the golden rule. Before that, so that was the main card. Let's move on to the prelims. The prelims were fire. I thought they were really good fights. First of all, the first one we got to talk about is Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Rongju. Bahamondes third round sub. I'm gonna before we get to it, Rongju missed weight. He weighed in at 160. He missed weight big time for it. But he's put on a clinic. Just talk to me about his performance because I'm going to rave about this dude in a second.
First thing I'm going to say is Rong actually looked good for a while there. Like his strikes looked sharp and fast, especially in the first round or so, to the point that I was feeling a little nervous about having picked Bahamondes. But this is twice in a row now that Rong has missed weight. He missed badly this time, as you pointed out. He missed the non-title weight by 4 full pounds. He needs to move up. But yeah, Bahamondes is fantastic. He flashed another side to his game, which I believe he mentioned in the post-fight interview. He presents as just a striker, but he's like, I can do work on the ground, and he looked fantastic there. If you're a guy that's a 6'3" or 6'2" lightweight like he is, and you got long arms and long legs, then you should be working for long arm submissions and grabbing that Bravo choke. And then just kind of keeping the grip as they rolled onto their sides. That was a nasty finish. Nice grappling.
Yeah, I was blown away by Mondays. Obviously, he's going to have the raw skills. He's built differently. He's going to be a tough test for so many people because of his long length. But the way he uses it, I love the variety in his striking. It was never the same thing. It'd be jab, inside kick, power shot, hook, teep kick, back to an inside kick, jab. It was just nonstop. His ability to, I mean, he was working the inside of the legs. He was switching stance. We never really got Zong to get comfortable. High output. You mentioned he almost had the guillotine choke at, I think it was the second round. He had this deep guillotine. It looked like he really understands distance. Briefly when he was taken down, he swept immediately. And then you mentioned he finished him with a Bravo choke at the end. I was absolutely floored. And the only thing I had to keep asking myself is how the F did this guy lose to John McDessie? like, this dude looks like a friggin' top 15 guy in the near future, and he lost to John freaking McDessie.
I mean, like, McDessie only fights once every 4 years, so he's just like powering up his power bar.
Oh, okay.
And then when it's full, he just comes in and like, destroys some prospect, and then like he goes back onto the shelf for 4 more years. That must be what it is.
So my friend Josh, my very best friend, came over today, and my son got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and they have Smash Bros. I'm not a video game person. I'll play with my son just because, it's more about playing with my son. I'm not sitting down there playing video games with myself. But we had like a little Smash Bros. Party. Like my kids were joined in, and my wife. I think it was like 6 of us playing. So you're telling me John McDessie is the you don't want to talk about when I say Smash Brothers? You have an idea? Okay. You're a little bit. All right. So John McDessie was doing, and that was like, it was like parts where you had to jump up, and there was like levels. He was like jumping up and getting away from everybody and let everybody else fight each other. So then at the end, when he'd have the most energy at the end because no one was hitting him while the rest of us were kicking the shit out of each other, he'd come over and he'd win. So that's John McDessie.
I mean,
my son.
He's young, and when he came to the UFC, he was super raw. Like having moved his training to the States, moved out from just like basically training with his dad, who was a kickboxer in Chile, and his nickname La Jaula, which just means the cage, that was his dad's nickname. So moving to the U.S. and starting to train with a full team, I think has helped him. And he's the kind of guy that is going to improve by leaps and bounds from one fight to the next for a while now, I think.
Yeah, and AY mentioned that. He said it's called fighter growth. Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want to see from young fighter.
And Rong Zhu is the other kind of fighter growth, where like he is just getting heavier.
He's growing. He's growing. Yeah, problem is, he also is playing Smash Brothers a little too much. Before that, Josiana Nunez took on Romana Pascal. She ended up winning.
Throw this fight, as Jay Petri would put it, put this fight in the outside garbage. Like, my parents were the same. Like, when something smelled so bad that you don't want to just put it in the kitchen trash, mom and dad would be like, no, put that in the outside trash. You didn't enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I enjoy going to World Star Hip Hop sometimes and just seeing two, like, untrained people beat the shit out of each other in a KFC parking lot. That doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it UFC level. This fight was garbage. Which, of course, means that the winner of this fight is probably a top 5 featherweight right now.
Yeah.
Because that's featherweight.
Yeah, it technically was. I mean, I know Nunez, because of the short notice, she did agree. She's already a small bantamweight. She agreed to move up. And I know it's funny. She actually fought a fight at 155 before. So,
Pascual, she fought at 150 in her last fight. Like, women looked 2 weight classes apart because they basically were.
Yeah. Pascal she's a thick woman. We'll just say, I mean that as nice as possible. She's just a thick woman.
Thick. I mean,
it's a very Felicia Spencer build to her.
Well, Felicia Spencer or like Norma Dumont, where like, I mean, and I'm trying to be as clinical as possible here, but like just not real heavy chested, but like strong arms and shoulders, and then just big legs, big hips, and a big butt. Like that's kind of the build. But
yeah.
Pascual I mean, she didn't have much. She seems so slow against Nunez.
Yeah. Nunes' left hand just couldn't miss, and it's funny because she was just throwing it over and over again. Like, how do you not see that coming? And it's like bang, bang,
Well,
and then when her eyes closed up, like her eye completely, I go, well, I understand why she's not seeing it now.
yeah.
I was talking about the early part of the fight, how you were not seeing it coming. I was impressed though. Like, obviously, the skill set was a big disparity, the speed, the athleticism is a big disparity, but the fact that she was able to get inside and land those shots, there is some. You've got to give her some credit giving up that much size,
Yeah.
and to land that shot. And as we talk about she's probably a top 5 fighter at 145. Yeah, she might be a top 5 at 145. She ain't that far off at 135 either, because 135 is a better division than 145, but it ain't that much better.
It's not that much better, and she's going to have the Jessica Andrade question where
Yes.
your athleticism, your strength, your explosion, your natural power, how far will they carry you before you just run into someone who's too tall and too skilled and you just can't get inside on them?
Yeah, it's like John Lineker. John Lineker was super skilled, but eventually he was just too small. John Lineker was a flyweight who just didn't want to give up McDonald's and Wendy's, and he liked to eat.
Who stole her neck? Says Kyle Lawheed. She looks like, who is the ref that it looks like a mini Brock Lesnar? Gary Copeland.
Gary Copeland.
Yeah, got the Gary Copeland neck, which is to say no neck.
I don't know why Gary. This is me aging myself again, and probably only me and Ben would know what I'm talking about. Every time I see Gary Copeland, for some reason I think of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Is a Paul Orndorff build?
The Paul Orndorff build. It has the same kind of like chiseled face. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like chiseled and ripped. A little bit of Greg the Hammer Valentine in there too, without the flowing blonde hair. But maybe a little Dino Bravo. There you go. That's my old 19 when I was a huge WWF back then. WWF. AJ Shaw just come in asking about the scoring of the Kim fight.
Yeah, we talked about we've been running down the card from the main event back.
Sure.
So if you want to run back, AJ, you can find where we're talking about it. There's a pretty animated discussion in the chat about it as well.
Yeah, guys, there a lot of people are upset. So me and Ben split on it. He went with Cashuara. I gave it with Kim. I don't think either one of us were adamant that it was a robbery one way or the other. But talking about a fight that I had a pretty good night. You had a really good night. What did you say? You went 9-2?
Yeah, I went 9-2, but again, I quote unquote picked the Cashuara and Kim fight right. If that had been judged how it probably should have, and again, I say that as someone who gave it for Cashuara, I'm 8-3, but that's still not too bad.
Yeah, I went 8-3. But the one fight that I did terribly wrong was this fight right here, Terrence McKinney versus Rossam. The best thing that happened to McKinney was that Zion kicked his foot out immediately, like kicked his leg out. So McKinney fell, but he fell into like a scramble with Zion, and then he showed his wrestling skills, quickly got the sub. There's not much to analyze, but it seems like a lot of people are excited about Terrence McKinney after being 2-0 and 2 really impressive victories in the UFC.
2 minutes and 11 seconds, and it's his longest fight so far.
Yeah, and he was on a starching streak. That's the whole reason why I picked Zion, because Zion's a very decorated kickboxer, and I was thinking McKinney gets a knockout in 7 seconds in the last fight. He's going to fall in love with his hands. He's going to stand with him, and Zion's going to destroy him. But the worst thing Zion did was kick his leg out. Yep. Like, he kicked him like forced him to wrestle.
And on paper, that's exactly what you should do. When you have a guy that like has fast and sharp and powerful hands, like starting to kick his legs early is a good idea. Give him something to think about. Take away the power to plant on the front leg.
Absolutely.
It just backfired.
Yeah, it's sometimes you can have the perfect form to tackle Derrick Henry and still get ran over. That's just how.
Yeah.
I want to say something, and this is just me being a wrestling snob. Can we please, I don't know what the hell Michael Bisping was talking about, saying that he said it 2 or 3 times. He kept calling Terrence McKinney an Olympic wrestling hopeful.
Well, me too. I'm an Olympic wrestling hopeful.
I was hoping I'd make the Olympics. I didn't come anywhere close, but yeah, I was. This guy was a junior college wrestler. He was an All-American in junior college. Zane Rutherford is a 3-time NCAA Division I national champion. He's a 2-time Hodge Trophy winner, meaning if you guys are unfamiliar with the Hodge Trophy, that's basically the Heisman Trophy of He was considered for 2-year period the greatest wrestler in the United States. He has not made the Olympic team, but he's an Olympic hopeful. Like maybe he'll make it. I'm sorry, Terrence McKinney is not an Olympic hopeful.
No, he's not an Olympic hopeful,
Bo
but
Nickel.
he is a UFC top 15 hopeful. He's
Okay,
in
yes.
the sense that he's
Yeah.
not there yet, but it's
I'm just
it's not going to take. Well, the only reason I mentioned is that High or Low asked what's next for Terrence. We didn't talk about matchmaking this before because especially if you're talking about the featherweight, lightweight, or welterweight divisions, and it's someone not in the top 15, then the appropriate matchup is just someone else not in the top 15 that's also coming off a win. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah. So you're in that sense. So me and you, when it comes to matchmaking, we do two different things. We tend to do. You like to do 2 people coming off win, 2 people coming off loss. I don't have that set. Sometimes it is someone coming off the loss. If I have someone who's top 10 ranked and I got someone top 20 ranked, top 10 guy loses, top 20 guy wins, I would think about it as escalators, where they match. And when they match, or someone's on the 3rd floor, or someone's on the 1st floor. The 3rd floor guy's taking an escalator up. First floor is taking an escalator up. 3rd floor is taking an escalator down. Did you meet on the 2nd floor? Then you fight each other. That's how I kind of think of it. It could be 2 guys coming off win. Either way.
Stop the presses. We got a Marcel Dorf sighting. Marcel Dorf. We have
never heard of him.
Never heard of Marcel. Yeah. You jerk. You are such a jerk.
No, Marcel.
Big Marcel. If you do not follow the man on Twitter, you should, because he is basically your one-stop shop for breaking news, especially from Europe. Super sharp mind for the game. I don't know why you just show up in the comments. You should come be a guest on the show, Marcel. But
yeah, we definitely got. I've done many podcasts with Marcel over the years. We ever does a couple preview shows together, filling in. Me and Marcel never were 100% booked as a team, but we filled in enough so we almost were a team a little bit. Marcel loves. I get it, Marcel. I am definitely a snob when it comes to wrestling. I'll admit it. It's funny because I don't think I'm a snob when it comes to MMA. People who have not been. If you tell me you haven't been watching MMA since UFC 6, I'm not like, oh, newbie. But I am a little bit like that with wrestling. I understand. So Marcel giving me a nice little jab. Did you want to throw a name out there or an idea
just for example,
face a veteran.
Next weekend we have Jalen Turner and Jamie Malarkey fighting. Maybe the winner of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rather have him go. And I understand what you're thinking behind it, and I think a lot. I mean, you can't make a bad matchup. I want him to face somebody like a veteran, someone who.
If you say Jim Miller, I don't want to hang up.
That actually would make a lot of sense, though. I want it to be a test for him, but it's something that he should pass.
Yeah, and that would let him complete the set, because right now he's beaten the kind of mid-level guy. He destroyed Matt Frivola. Now he's beaten a fellow up-and-comer in Fares Zayam. If you want to give him a grizzled veteran who still has something to offer, if you want to give him a Miller or a Clay Guida, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. You know who actually would make sense if he didn't retire would be Chaz Skelly.
And Chaz really, really kind of, it became a much softer retirement at the end of the fight than it had been during fight week.
I was just thinking this for a second. I'm listening to Chaz Skelly, and it just got, I was at Bellator last week, so I was kind of catching up on fights afterwards. And if you guys remember, Bellator and UFC was on the same exact time. Imagine other sports. Imagine an NBA player wins a basketball game. And and he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna retire. I'm like, I'm selling roofs, and my business is going. If you need a roof, imagine an NBA player or somebody talking about his roofing business or his real estate business or his whatever. It's pay your fighters. Come on, guys. It's just embarrassing. Yep. It shouldn't be more lucrative to be a roof salesman. I don't know, but it is, I guess. It really is. So before Terrence McKinney ran through for us, Zayam, we had Alejandro Perez versus Jonathan Martinez. I thought it was a brilliant performance, John Martinez. He had about 5 seconds that went wrong for him at the end of the first round. I thought it was a very safe victory where he just sat back, picked the puck from range. I thought Perez made every mistake possible by not crowding him, by staying in that kicking range. And it looked like it looked like a Mirko Krokop session. We're just like kick, 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 over and over again. When he was throwing his hands look fast. When he puts them together, if Jonathan Martinez can put it all together, I think he's a sneaky threat in that division. Like, I'm not saying he's going to win a title or anything like that, but he's got a little bit of promise. Like, he's showed flashes that I've really liked. Agree or disagree?
No, I'm with you here. Talking about Perez or Martinez?
Martinez. Did I say Perez?
Yeah,
I meant
no, Martinez. Like I said on the preview, I assumed that he was just going to be like 2 and gone when he came to the UFC, especially when he lost to Rhode Island's finest, Andre Sukumtat. Since then, he's only lost to good fighters, and when he's on, he's looked very impressive. And this is not meant as shade, but moving out of the Texas Panhandle and going to Factory X, where there are a ton of bantamweights and featherweights that he can work with, and he's working under a guy in Mark Montoya who works really well with Muay Thai flavored fighters like he is, it's been a great thing for him. Like, I think Factory X is a great team for him. And yeah, like good going for Martinez. And I agree with you that it started to look like a Krokop session because, and just a quick side note, one of my favorite things in combat sports is Full Metal Dojo's Fight Circus. Full Metal Dojo is a Thailand-based promotion that puts on real MMA stuff, but they also put on just freak shows. And one thing they did at their last Fight Circus was it was called Rooster Fight, and it was basically a Muay Thai fight where you were only allowed to kick and knee. And I think Jonathan Martinez would clean the hell up at that because he won this fight with almost nothing but kicks.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I think he didn't start throwing his hands like halfway through the third round. He's like, oh, I can piece you up my hands too. Then I'll start throwing those too. But yeah, he really was only throwing his hands when Perez was trying to pressure him to kind of fight him back. Like he got past the kicking range. Yeah, just really great performance. I mean, we both favored Martinez, but I thought it was a little bit harder fight than the odds said because Perez is tricky, but Perez gave him the perfect fight he wanted. Shout out to Big Marcel again, as he mentioned. We did do a 2-hour podcast once. I forgot what we were previewing, and I filled in for the usual host, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, and then that day I got the flu and I was dead sick. But I'm like, yeah, I understand how much when you're doing a preview, how much you have to put into it. So I did the preview, and as soon as I got off, I was so sick. I slept for like 3 days straight.
Yikes. It
was like 16, 17-hour days. I was dead. But I think I hit it pretty good that moment. It was like my MMA media's version of the Jordan flu game, I guess.
There you go, the Shillan flu show.
Anytime I can try to compare myself to Michael Jordan, I will take that opportunity. Before Martinez pieced up Alejandro Perez, Ramirez Brachimov took a fight on like days' notice and we didn't even preview it. That's how short it was. We previewed Gilmore versus Johnny Parsons, and Brachimov ran right through Michael Gilmore, got the takedown, jumped on his back, submitted him. This is exactly what happens when you're on a losing streak. You get yourself back, get yourself a win, take no damage, get yourself a win, show performance and a win performance. Nice to see a guy get paid without doing much work.
Well, he did what is called punking him. He punked Gilmore in that Gilmore landed no strikes, no takedown attempts, no sub attempts. Like he batted 0.
Wow. Perfect game. He had a perfect game. Like, we should have awards like that. There should be like a record. Oh, he's got a perfect night. Not a single strike was landed.
Perfect game.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything else to take from this? Like it is still. I mean, I don't feel better about Brachimov. I mean, he still recently lost to Court McGee, but yeah, really good showing from him. Before that, Carlos Hernandez versus Victor Altamirano. I scored it 29-28 for Altamirano. Agree or disagree?
I did score it for Altamirano, I think. Like I seriously need to go back to MMA decisions to remind myself how I scored a fight 4 hours ago because that's how dead my brain is.
Yeah. I did look on MMA decision. I don't know where you are. It was 9-5. It actually has me listed as a draw, though. I actually scored it for Altamirano.
I picked Altamirano, but I scored it for Hernandez.
Okay, so we're on split, but this is what I want to say it. This is as close of a fight as they come.
Hmm.
That I like any scorecard, like all three rounds are toss ups. It came down to I think Almatrano was making Hernandez miss more, but rolling with punches, which he was doing a lot, does not look good in MMA. And I think that might have been the difference. I think that's why Hernandez might have won. I know Hernandez did get one or two takedowns. Almatrano got one or two takedowns himself. There was pretty much nothing on the ground. Two debuting fighters. Yeah, I thought Almatrano won, but I have no issue with Hernandez. I'm assuming you feel the same way, the opposite.
And going into this fight, like on the preview, this was one of the hardest fights for me to score or to predict because they have broadly similar skill sets. Neither of them is really that much more proven than the other. I mean, this was an LFA co-main event that happened to take place on the UFC card.
Absolutely, and I think you mentioned it perfectly. You said they had even skill sets. That's what we saw, like very similar strategies. So I don't think anybody's at this point, first fight of the night on a prelim against two lower level UFC talents, not that anybody too excited about. I don't think we can have much debate. So there you guys have it. We've covered every single fight. Let's get to the fun stuff. We got the Bulls and the Bears. We got the Cutlass. We'll get our grade and we'll give our listener of the night. Cutlass, I have two names. How many you got?
I only have one, and I expected to have a lot more than that.
All right. So the way we do the Cutlass is if both me and Ben have the same name, we tell the UFC, get rid of that guy and give somebody else a spot. So who is the one name?
I have two. Never mind. I have two.
Oh, okay. So we might have, I think we're going to have the same two. Who's your first name?
Rongju.
Ooh. I didn't have Rongju on it because he just won his. I mean, I know he missed weight back-to-back fights. I would force him to have to go up to welterweight, but no, I didn't have Rongju, so he gets saved by me. I save Rongju. Who's your other name?
My other is Misha Cirkunov.
Okay, so that's the big name. Misha Cirkunov also was on my list. I mean, you're talking about a guy he's lost 3 fights in a row.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about Gilmore. Yeah, sorry. Cirkunov and Gilmore.
Okay, so we do have the same two because Gilmore was on my list. 0-2, 0-3 if you count tough. Stopped in all 3, so he's off. Cirkunov's lost 3 in a row. I think he's lost 4 out of 6. I'm sorry, 3 out of 4, 6 out of 8. Yeah. Like he's been on a terrible streak. Time to send him over to Bellator,
dude.
Send him over to Bellator so he could be like, honestly, Misha Cirkunov could be Gegard Mousasi's next fight.
Oh man, and Mousasi would kill him so bad. I expected to have both Cashuara and Kim on my cut list tonight. Like if they just had kind of a lame fight, I probably would have had them both on my cut list. But because it was a decent fight and
one fight of the night,
it was a fight of the night, and the end was kind of controversial. And again, I say that as the only media member who scored it for Cashuara. Like she gets a reprieve. The damn eye poker is still in the UFC.
Yeah, let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. I'll let the listeners start throwing out the Bulls and the Bears. The way we do the Bulls and Bears, if you haven't listened to this show before, it's a stock market reference. When a stock is going up or the market's going up, it's a bull stock. When it's going bad, it's a bear stock. You want to be on the bull list. You do not want to be on the bear list. We do it like hockey do, 3 stars a night, number 1 being the best one. If it's a bull, the worst one. If it's a bear, you want to keep it negative, you want to go positive?
Oh, let's keep it negative.
All right. So we'll do the Bears. If you don't mind, I'll go first for the Bears. All right. My number 3 is a guy that you had on your cut list, but I didn't. That's Rongju. He missed weight, which is not good. He got his ass kicked. He got absolutely murdered by Bahamondes. He got finished. And then he painted his hair pink, so he looked like a freaking Easter egg. Just an overall terrible performance tonight by Rongju. So to me, his stock is going way down. My number 2, Mexican MMA. The Mexicans went 0-2 on the night as Alejandro Perez and Victor Alderami both lost, so not a good night under the border for Mexican MMA. And number 1, I did have Tony Weeks' his scorecard, but I still got to go Misha Cirkunov. I mean, winning a fight at that point looked like you're about to get a finish and then get subbed by one of the lowest level guys on the UFC roster. just terrible for Misha Cirkunov. So to me, Misha Cirkunov's stock is. I mean, this is the guy at one point was we talked about on the preview was really high. He was supposed to be the next big thing in the light heavyweight division, and boy, has that not aged well. Ben, who is your Bears?
Well, I am not gonna add 3 more to that because I agree with all of yours. The only one I will throw in there is Joel Alvarez. Just he was an underdog, so obviously he was expected to lose, but I thought he showed fewer signs of life even than I would have expected of him. And now this is twice that he has come up against kind of top 10 level talents in Damir Ismagulov and now Arman Sarukian, and he's just been turned back pretty decisively both times. So he's still young, still got plenty of time, but there's a point at which you're not a prospect anymore, and just what we see from you is your ceiling. So Alvarez, I mean, he might need some kind of change of scenery. Might need to change something up.
Yeah, high or low 1,000 also put Alvarez on his list. He called the Armenian Bear a list. Devo agrees with you. I always call him Devo. I'm sorry. Dev goes fishing. Says Alvarez quit, so he put him on the list too. Let's do the Bulls. So these are guys who had a good night. Ben, I'll let you go first.
All right. Bulls. Let's go ahead and go with Terrence McKinney. Just ran through an opponent that was really close on the odds and flexed a new wrinkle in his game. We weren't sure what his ground game was going to look like. Turns out it looks pretty good. Opportunistic, fast moving on the ground, good in scrambles. So that's one. Another one, both Armen Petrosian and Gregory Rodriguez. It was a close fight. Lots of people scored it differently. But it was one of the fights where I think both fighters came out looking good. Both fighters, if it's possible, came out elevating their stock. And usually when you have a fight like that, it's because both of them are prospects that still have a lot of questions hanging over them.
Yep.
Number one, I'm going to say Islam Makhachev. And I don't normally put main event fighters on my Bulls list. And I especially don't put main event fighters who are minus 850 favorites on my Bulls list. But like I said off the top of the show when we first talked about this fight, when you're that big a favorite and you're taking on just basically a less skilled fighter who is coming around at short notice, you need to do more than just win to keep your momentum going. And he absolutely did that. Of all the things I expected out of this fight, I did not expect him to just roll over Bobby Green in 3 minutes. So great performance out of Makhachev.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was number one on my list too. I'll come up with 3 other ones just because of that. I'm gonna read some of the listeners. Scott McCree, his Bulls, Islam, Armin, Ignacio, his Bears, Cirkunov, Gilmore, and Rongju. Let's see. Dev goes fishing, Bulls, Armin, Islam, and Terrence. Bobby Boucher, Bulls, Turman and McKinney, and Bahamondes. Alan McDonald, Bulls, Turman, Bahamondes, and Armin. Dev says Islam on the way you're supposed to win with those odds. So Dev goes fishing, not getting too much love for Islam. My 3, my number 3. You're probably gonna disagree with this one. You didn't seem as high on her performance as I did, but Josana Nunez. I know I'm saying her first name wrong. Josiana Nunez. 2 fights in a row. I thought she looked really good. I thought she looked a killer. You mentioned a little Jessica Andrade. I love that about her. I just love this little short pocket boxer throwing bombs. She's violent. She's fun. I tweeted out during her fight that she's becoming my favorite fighter. I love her. So she's my number 3. My number 2 is somebody, and this is just wowed by his skills that he showed tonight and continuing to grow in his skills and just looks like such a bright future. And that's Ignacio Bahamondes. He put on a clinic. And I just guy that I just like so much. Like I just feel like whoever he fights next, I'm probably picking him to win. And my number 1, it was Islam Makhachev, but my new number 1, how about Armenia MMA? Armen Sarukian and Armen Petrosian. How do I say his last name?
Yeah.
Petrosian. Why am I screwing this up? I apologize. Petrosian, Sarukian, Petrosian. Back-to-back fights for our, and I know they train outside of that and everything, but overall, you had a small country in the MMA globe had a really good night, so that's good. And they were traveling well. They had a lot of people in the crowd cheering them on, so really good night for Armenian MMA. So there you guys have it. We've covered the Bulls and the Bears. I think that's a lot of the listeners' favorite.
Yeah.
AY says Bulls, water, Cutlass, Gatorade.
Stay hydrated, friends.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, 2 Armins from Armenia. Yeah, I know. I was making sure I read that right myself there, Dev. Give me a grade. What was your overall grade for this card?
B-. The undercard was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There were a couple of controversial decisions, and anytime we're talking as much about the decisions as the highlights, that does detract from what, like, I get into this to find out. And the main event, again, short notice main event that was even more one-sided than expected. So best I can give it is a B-.
Yeah, I'm going much higher. I obviously I'm grading on a curve. The pay-per-views get. If this was a pay-per-view card, I would have a lower grade because if you're shelling out the money, you have to. I'm going A-. Like I thought we had 2 really good wars with the Rodriguez Petrosian fight. The fight that I was dogging on heading into this, the female fight between Kim and Cashuara. Like I was so not looking forward to the fight. It ended up being a great fight. Even like we bagged on the co-main event, but it was fun how it ended. We almost had a Suluev stretch. The pure, when you see pure dominance, it's fun watching pure dominance. You remember those moments. Like I'm going to remember Makhachev's pure dominance, the blood going all over the place in the Joel Alvarez fight. So overall, I really liked it. I'm going to give it an A-. Listener, this is always the hardest question. Who is your listener of the night?
Well, I'm really going to give shouts to like our new folks. At least I believe these are new ones. We had 3 that I noticed. Eric dropped in right at the beginning and just laid waste to everyone around him, denigrating Makhachev's recent record. I appreciated his passion and the reasonable points he brought up to back it up. Then by the end, AY is here giving us like deadly one-liners, throwing around, House of Flying Daggers,
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
And then High or Low has been here throughout. Always good to have new people joining us. We enjoy your insights. We enjoy humor. We like arguing here sometimes. So I think I'm going to give it to High or Low 1000.
Okay, I'll give it to AY. I had a couple names I had written down. The water one at the end got me. But yeah, shout out to all the guys in the chat. What I love about the chat is a lot of the same people. It seems like we kind of know each other's personalities. I just love seeing guys like Dev Ghost Fishing, Kyle Lawhey. Some of the people we were missing tonight. But Bobby Boucher has been coming around a lot. Tatara, however I say that. I know I say it wrong every time. I apologize. Just really good. Nice to see like a. Scotty McCree is in a lot, so just really, really good. And I apologize for anybody who I'm trying to scroll real quick. Alan McDonald always is here. Just really, really good crew. But what I love about it, people can score fights differently, and it's none of you're an idiot, you're stupid. Like we don't have any of that. We're very friendly. Like I don't remember the last time. I don't think we've ever had to kick anybody out of it. So that's the best part. Couple things, guys. Huge fight week, UFC 272. I saw the promo. I thought the promo was incredible. We already talked about it. Monday morning, head over Sherdog.com or the YouTube page. Our preview's taped. It's exciting. Me and Ben go deep like we always do. So make sure if you guys like the recap, you actually want to know who we pick so then you can dog us on the recap. Make sure you check that out. Ben, tell us what else to check out because I know big week pay-per-view weeks is a lot of stuff to check out.
Big pay-per-view weeks. I haven't looked at the slate of interviews we have coming up, but we usually have interviews with some of the interesting people on the UFC, Bellator, One Championship cards coming up. We have the Fight Business podcast with Patrick Auger, where he, kind of talks about big trends in the sport. Like big news this week was Triller Fight Club buying up Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, things like that. And of course, the Sean Sheehan show. If you like a charming and adorable Irish accent and all access to, the Ireland's top fighters, you must check out the Sean Sheehan show. The Sean Sheehan show.
Yeah, and then obviously, yeah, and if you like reading, Tom Feely has a great preview, and then we're gonna have all the usual stuff on the website. So make sure you check that out, guys. Please share this, like it, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Until next time, guys.